What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying yours Friday morning so far. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm bringing you the BKN Game Recap for the Brooklyn Nets, as last night they took on the Milwaukee Bucks down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This was originally supposed to be a TNT televised game, but they flexed the game off in favor of the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies last night. So the Brooklyn Nets instead were just playing a normal, regular game on Yes Network. And this was already going to be a tall task. I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks were going into this game last night. They weren't going to be playing Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's been dealing with the wrist injury for the past couple of games. So they decided to give him the night off. And the Brooklyn Nets, they pretty much were sitting a lot of their key players. Whether it was Cam Johnson, who was out of the game due to right knee soreness. Royce O'Neal was out due to left knee soreness. Ben Simmons because of the back injury and left knee soreness. Nicolas Claxton's dealing with some left Achilles tendonitis and a right sprained finger. Spencer Dinwiddie was out due to a rest day. And not just to go with that, both Dorian Finney-Smith and Mikal Bridges only played in the first quarter, and then they pretty much were done after that. And the Brooklyn Nets, for a while, they actually were competitive. They were actually down at one point by 21 points in the first half to the Milwaukee Bucks, and this looked like there was going to be just one of those blowout type games for the Nets. But they fought all the way back. They fought all the way back in this game due to major contributions from a lot of their key players that don't really get an opportunity to play as much. But key guys like Patty Mills, Cam Thomas, Drew Smith, and David Duke Jr. helped this team fight all the way back from being down by a lot before. And this Nets team managed to cut the lead all the way down to 2 at one point. But unfortunately, the Nets just didn't have enough gas left in the tank. And they ended up falling to the Milwaukee Bucks by the final score of 118 to 113, dropping the Brooklyn Nets record to 37-29 on the season, but they still right now remain in 6th place in the Eastern Conference, and they only remain a game behind the New York Knicks, whom the Knicks lost last night to the Sacramento Kings. So the Nets are still right there in the thick of things to possibly get that number 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. It was just a very difficult game for the Nets to win because of the fact that they were missing so many guys on the court. But you got to admire the tough fight back of this team, especially with these young guys that got their opportunity on the court and were able to show what they can do, much like guys like Drew Smith, David Duke Jr., who don't play at all. These are guys that are coming from the G League. Sharpe got his opportunity to go out there and show what he could do. As well as, of course, Cam Thomas, Edmund Sumner, Yuta Watanabe. It was a lot about the bench in this game. Just trying to show Jacques Vaughn, and like I mentioned when I made my video yesterday, these young bench players trying to show Jacques Vaughn that they deserve an opportunity to try to work themselves into the rotation with the Brooklyn Nets. So this is what this game was mostly all about. Trying to see if any of these guys did enough to impress Jacques Vaughn to put them into the rotation for the remainder of this NBA season as we get closer to the NBA playoffs. But in reality, this was going to be a very difficult game for the Nets to win. I mean, in the end, the Nets shot 39% from the court. They shot 39% from the three-point line, which is very good. Rebounding-wise, I mean, the Nets, they got blasted on the boards, 61-49. But of course, like I said, Finney-Smith didn't play much. Obviously, Bridges didn't play much. But Dinwiddie didn't play. Claxton didn't play. Johnson didn't play. A lot of your bigger rebounds did not play in this game. Nets got out-assisted by 33-20. Nets turned the ball over 12 times while the Bucks did. Or the Nets turned the ball over 13 times. Bucks turned it over 16 times. Bucks didn't even shoot the ball that great. They shot 38% from the three-point line and 42% from the court. But the Bucks just did enough. And I think because of the fact they got off to that big lead in the beginning of the game, they were able to just, cruise after that, go into cruise control, and be able to pull this game out in the end, where they were able to win this game by at least 5 points. But I want to talk about the contributions of some of these kids and the way they did. the job that they did. For as much as we all get on him because of the fact he fouls a little bit too much, Sharpe actually had a decent game yesterday. He only had 1 foul, but he did have 11 points on 4 rebounds with 2 assists and 2 steals and a block shot in 30 minutes on 5 of 13 shooting. Sharpe is one of those guys that you just need to keep developing him, and maybe he could become a piece for you to keep going into next year. Or possibly he could be a young guy that if you don't think he's part of the future, you could use him as a chip and you could trade him away to get some more draft capital. Patty Mills, I will give credit where credit is due. Whenever Patty Mills, and although he did turn the ball over 4 times, Patty Mills, when he gets his opportunities, for a decent amount actually comes through. 23 points last night on 4 assists with 1 steal and 7 rebounds on 8 of 16 shooting and 5 of not shooting from the 3-point line in 31 minutes. Mills actually played pretty well when he got his opportunity. Cam Thomas, 7 of 13 shooting, 3 of 6 from the 3-point line. He was in 26 minutes. He also had 4 rebounds, and he had 21 points on the night with 2 turnovers. Thomas got his opportunity to show what he could do and see if he can get back in the rotation. He actually played pretty decently. How about Drew Smith? The kid that the Brooklyn Nets signed during, signed a couple of months ago, and he was a guy that was coming off the Miami Heat's G League team. He comes in and scores 17 points with 5 assists and 3 rebounds on 2 of 6 shooting from the 3-point line and 7 of 13 from the field in 22 minutes. Excellent minutes by Drew Smith, giving the Nets something to look at. Maybe as a guy that could be a future backup point guard for the team. David Duke Jr., another one who's been on the Long Island Nets G League team for most of the season. 13 points and 2 assists and 5 rebounds overall on 6 of 11 shooting and 1 of 2 from the 3-point line in 27 minutes. Another guy that could be a potential future piece for this team. They're both still young. Drew Smith is only 26 years old. David Duke Jr. is only 23. You have young pieces along with Dorian Sharpe and Cam Thomas. You can continue to maybe look to build around if you want to keep these guys and try to develop them a little bit more if you keep them in the G League team going forward. I mean, you still have Edmund Sumner. He didn't have a great game last night. 9 points and 2 assists and 1 rebound and 1 steal in 13 minutes on 2 of 7 shooting from the field, or for the court, 1 of 2 from the 3-point line. Sumner, obviously coming back from maternity leave. He's a guy that you could maybe keep on. He's going to be here next year unless the Nets decide to let him go or they decide to trade him next offseason. He's another guy that you could use as a potential build, a potential piece to use going forward. And then Yuta Watanabe, 4 points on 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 of 6 from the court. And 0-4 from the 3-point line, 29 minutes. Watanabe sort of tailed off a little bit, going forward. He sort of tailed off from the court. But either way, Watanabe is, he was really playing well for the Brooklyn Nets. He's sort of gone backwards towards the end of the season when he hasn't really had the minutes compared to what he had in the beginning of the season. But either way, Watanabe is still a decent player, so we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. But this was going to be a very difficult game for the Brooklyn Nets to win. I mean, let's just not kid ourselves. This was going to be a very difficult game for the Nets to win after they pretty much sat all their key players, and then the other 2 guys that were in the starting lineup only played for the first quarter. So this was going to be a very hard game for the Nets to win, even with the Bucks not playing Giannis Antetokounmpo. They still had Chris Middleton. They still had Brook Lopez. They still had Drew Holiday. They still had Bobby Portis, Grayson Allen, Jay Crowder, Jalen Carter. They still had all these guys, or Jerome Carter. So, I mean, all these guys still played. The fact of the matter is, the Nets fought hard in this game and managed to keep it close, even though they did fall short in the end. Still have to give a lot of credit to all these young players on this team for fighting back into this game after being down 21 points and cutting it within 2 points, but just falling short of this game. The unfortunate thing is, you can't really afford as much to sit a lot of your key players when you're in the middle of a playoff push and you want to try to secure a top 6 seed, when the fact that you don't want to be involved in the play-in game and you still have a shot at getting the number 5 seed. You don't really want to sit all your players, but at the same time, I understand why Jacques Vaughn did it. A lot of his guys were banged up and he wanted to try to give them a rest day going forward into this game. So hopefully These guys are all going to be ready going into tonight's game against the Minnesota Timberwolves down in Minnesota. And the Nets have got to try to find a way to bounce back and get a victory against Minnesota, because you have a daunting task of facing the Denver Nuggets on Sunday afterwards. So you need to find a way to win this game tonight. Minnesota is not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still a game the Nets can find a way to win. So hopefully they can get it done against the Timberwolves and bounce back after what was a very tough loss to the Milwaukee Bucks last night in Milwaukee by the final score of 118-113. But credit to the Nets, credit to Jacques Vaughn for fighting back in this game. It's just a shame that they couldn't do enough to try to find a way to pull off this victory in the end. But either way, that is your BKN game recap for the Brooklyn Nets as they fall to the Milwaukee Bucks last night by the final score of 118-113, and they go to the 37-29 on the season, and they get ready for a showdown in Minnesota against the Timberwolves, looking to see if they can get back on the winning track against the T-Wolves tonight. If you like this video, hit the like button below. Sub up to NYG Jeffrey T85 for more news, updates, chatter, and game recaps surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. Turn on the bell for notifications on next video or short dropping on the channel surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. And leave your comments in the comments section. What you thought about last night's Brooklyn Nets loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. And what is your state of the Nets and how you feeling about this? The Nets going into tonight's game against the... Going into tonight's game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, you think they'll be able to bounce back today? Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your Friday. TGIF Friday, everyone. Take it easy and let's go Brooklyn Nets. It's a Nets world, and we're all just living in it.